police arrive, they do their initial scene investigation.
What they discover is a woman's body, battered, bloody, and clearly dead. Dr. G wastes no time dispatching medical investigator Steve Hansen to examine the scene.
He'll look at the body to kind of give the police some indication what happened.
We've got a body that shouldn't be in a place alongside the road. There's significant trauma. We proceeded with the idea that she may have been beaten or she'd been hit by a car and it slid along the ground for 20 or 30 feet. It's a potential homicide.
Police immediately launch an investigation, but they have their work cut out for them.
She has no ID on her. She has no purse around. She has no vehicle around or anything that will give us an idea who she was.
When you have what might be suspected to be a homicide, historically you start looking at who the people that know the person are, husbands, wives, and start building that chain to find out what was going on and who it is and who might have done it.
But with an unidentified victim on their hands, police don't even know where to begin.
They're really anxious for us to get the body into the medical examiner's office and do an examination.
Dr. G's job is straightforward, but far from easy. Help police make a positive ID on the victim, determine the cause and manner of death, and look for any evidence that could shed light on who or what killed her. The moment Jane Doe's body rolls into the morgue, the race to identify her is on.
Because I know that her identification is going to be crucial, as soon as I clear those hands and I've done taking trace evidence off of her skin, I'll let Steve usually come in and fingerprint the body for me.
He takes two types of prints. First is a digital scan.
We use this quick print ID system that we've got. We roll the laptop into the morgue. So we'll go ahead and put the index and middle finger, we'll transmit that through the laptop into the database.
Then Steve also pulls traditional rolled ink prints from the victim.
The fingerprints will be sent over to the police ASAP. They'll run it through their system very quickly.
In addition to taking fingerprints, Dr. G usually takes photos of the decedent. But today, this is not an option. The trauma is simply too severe.
I don't think anybody's going to be able to identify her through a photograph.
As a result, Dr. G will have to provide police with the next best thing, a detailed physical profile of the victim.
She has, not a lot of wrinkles. She looks like maybe she's in her 40s. She's a black woman. Now, one of the things we'll look at for identification is going to be teeth. Because teeth will certainly give us unique characteristics. Oftentimes we get a presumptive ID some other way and then make the scientific ID through comparing your dental records with your teeth. Let's see her mouth. Oh, no.
But here Dr. G encounters another challenge.
Well, we see right off that she doesn't have any teeth. She has dentures. Now, it would be the holy grail if her social security number was engraved on the dentures, but not many dentists do that.
But the prosthetic teeth do provide one possible clue.
She had a gold tooth on her denture, so her dentures were somewhat unique.
Dr. G creates a preliminary profile for homicide investigators. The victim is an African-American woman, about 40 years old, with dentures and a gold tooth. Police then run a check to see if the description matches anyone who's been reported missing in the surrounding area. But detectives will be relying on Dr. G for more than just a profile.
It's my job now to try to figure out exactly what happened to her. So we need to gather as much information, forensic information, as we can. So we've got...
Dr. G begins by examining each of the injuries on Jane Doe's head.
So we've got the second and third. The cheekbones are fractured. The mandible's fractured. Her nose is fractured.
And clearing away the blood and dirt that's matted to Jane Doe's scalp, Dr. G begins to get a glimpse of what this woman endured.
Okay.
This was no hit and run. she was beaten.
I find 10 blows to the head, lacerations where the skin has torn. I draw each one of them individually and I measure where they're located on the scalp.
One of the reasons Dr. G scrutinizes the wounds so closely is so that she can try to determine what was used to make them.
If Dr. G can make a determination of the type of instrument that's used and she passes that on to the police, well, they can certainly pass that on to the crime scene people who are looking at the scene.
Once they know what to look for, detectives might have an easier time finding the weapon that was used. That weapon could harbor fingerprints or other identifying evidence that could lead police to a perpetrator. Looking at the size and shape of the wounds, Dr. G begins to get an idea of what type of weapon was used.
Clearly multiple areas of a trauma, all with a blunt instrument.
But she can't specify what type of blunt instrument until she examines the inside of the cranium.
Until I see the skull and see the injuries internally, I really can't make much of a determination of what type of instrument.
And as she makes her way down the body, Dr. G is confronted with another gruesome discovery.
Now look at this. I can't imagine who would do this to this woman. You know, what did she do that would deserve this?
Are you 50 or over? Let's take a ride and talk with some folks about the AARP Auto Insurance Program from the Hartford. So, pal, how'd it feel to turn 50?
Yeah, I feel great. My family threw me a party. We celebrated.
Well, I hope you celebrated by switching to the Hartford. Then you know that the Buck's got your back.
The Buck.
What's the Hartford Buck? With the Hartford, you get great savings and exclusive benefits.
Wow. Is that for people over 50?
Yep.
That means me now.
That means you, man. That's why you're driving with me. AARP members 50 and over get rewarded with benefits like accident forgiveness, which means if you get in an accident, the Hartford has your back.
That sounds great.
And your deductible, James, decreases every year you're accident-free with disappearing deductible.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding.
I mean, my head just exploded. That's for me. Sign me up.
To get your free quote, call the Hartford today at 1-800-351-4287. You could save hundreds of dollars.
You know, Lynn, you kind of strike me as a smart shopper.
I think I am.
Yeah?
At least I try to be a smart shopper.
So you like to save.
Oh gosh, who doesn't like to save?
Well, switching to the Hartford can save you hundreds. AARP members who switched to the Hartford saved an average of $577.
That's quite a savings.
You know, 96% of customers recommend the Hartford to friends and family.
I think I'll do just the same.
I can count on it?
Oh, you can count on it.
Join the millions of drivers 50 and over who switched to the AARP Auto Insurance Program from the Hartford. Not an AARP member? The Hartford can help you join in minutes. To get your free no-obligation quote and see how much you could save, call the Hartford at 1-800-351-4287, 1-800-351-4287, or visit trusthartford.com. The Buck's got your back.
Guys, it's like Dave was made for me. No drama, no games.
Who? Oh, I know Dave.
The best?
Let me see a pic.
A banking app? The banking app for everyday people.
Dave gives you what those other guys don't.
There's no overdrafts or late fees.
You could get extra cash when you need it. Okay. I'm with it.
I think I found the one.
There's an easier way to bank and get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less when you download Dave.
I was getting older.
My digestion is changing.
I started taking one shot a dose every day, and wow.
Dose is clinically backed. It aids liver function and supports healthy liver enzyme levels.
I have more energy.
My stomach's settled down.
I'm not planning on slowing down anytime soon.
At DriveTime.com, we've been hard at work, and we finally did.
Did you make it so I can finally see my real payments and shop at thousands of cars with no hit to my credit?
Wait. Yes! Shop for cars online with no credit hit.
Go to DriveTime.com and get approved with no credit hit.
A Talkspace therapist will be in your corner for whatever comes up and be a place for you to vent day or night when you need to. Talkspace is covered by most insurance plans and may be no cost to you. Go to Talkspace.com to get started.
This is Litter Robot, the highest rated self-cleaning litter box that removes the chore of scooping. After your cat exits, Litter Robot automatically cycles, separating the clean litter from the dirty clumps. Never scoop again with Litter Robot.
Dr. G is examining the body of an unidentified woman who police found brutally murdered on the side of the road. And she's just made a startling new discovery.
She's got at least 5 gunshot wounds.
1 pierced her abdomen, 2 on her left leg, 1 on her hip, and 1 that went straight through her head. It's a brutal display of violence, but it could also be the biggest clue yet.
Are there bullets in her? Where are these to be retrieved?
Dr. G orders a full body x-ray. Any bullets still lodged inside Jane Doe's body could lead detectives to her killer.
They could be matched to a gun that caused her gunshot wounds.
As soon as the x-rays are completed, she carefully examines the images.
We can find things on x-ray that may help us identify the body.
And sure enough, Dr. G discovers a unique feature.
We see evidence of an old broken wrist, which may or may not help us identify her later. And if we have a presumptive identification and I get then an x-ray, previous x-ray, I can say for sure that's who it is.
But something else she sees could help the case even more.
When we do the x-rays, we find 2 bullets.
Luckily, 2 of the bullets did not exit the body. They could now be the key pieces of evidence that ultimately lead detectives to the perpetrator.
We always will retrieve the bullet if one's present. So I really need to do the internal exam.
Dr. G cuts open the body from the shoulder blades to the pelvis with a Y incision. And using only her gloved fingers, she carefully extracts the bullets. Hopefully, the casings will match up with a weapon that police already have on file.
When a bullet extends down the end of the barrel, there are unique nicks and imperfections on that barrel that will impart unique characteristics on the edge of the bullet. So if we have the gun, they can test fire it and see if it matches to the bullet I've recovered from that body.
And examining the 5 gunshot wounds more closely, she notices something odd about the trajectory of the bullet paths.
They're all kind of going downward.
This gives Dr. G an idea of where the victim was positioned in relation to the shooter.
It suggests that she's sitting up and that the wounds are from somebody slightly higher shooting at her.
Since Jane Doe was found lying down on the side of a road, this finding indicates that she was most likely shot in a different location. But that's not all. Following the paths of the bullets through Jane Doe's body, Dr. G makes another surprising discovery.
That didn't hit any major vessel, it didn't hit any major organ. None of the gunshot wounds are fatal. They're not the cause of death. So the last thing I do is the internal exam on the head.
Dr. G slices through Jane Doe's scalp and peels it back, exposing the top of the skull. And immediately, she makes a gruesome discovery. The victim's cranium is completely shattered.
She's got these multiple displaced fractures, not just on the top of the skull and sides, even the base of the skull.
Dr. G scrutinizes the fragmented pieces of skull in an attempt to determine what kind of instrument inflicted the injuries.
Now, what I look for, though, is to see if I can see any imprints. Like, if you have a hammer, you'll oftentimes see these curvilinear imprints on the bone. If I have, like, a thin crowbar, sometimes you can see those fractures a little different. This fracture really indicated something more broad base, not thin.
This finding suggests that Jane Doe was beaten with a blunt object. But the skull is too damaged for her to determine what type of blunt object was used. Piece by piece, she removes the fragments of skull. Usually, her morgue assistant would open the skull by sawing across from one end to the other. But this case is different.
We'll actually use some of these large fractures to help open the cranial cavity. Her head's not good. I am really really surprised at the sheer amount of deep trauma to her brain. This woman has pieces of bone fragments driven into her brain to the point where her brain stem's lacerated. Clearly, these are unsurvivable injuries. These are injuries that would have caused her death. At this point, the autopsy is done.
But Dr. G's work is far from over.
Well, the big thing left is we still need to identify her. But at this point, unfortunately, I get word from the fingerprint examiners that they can't make her identification off of fingerprints. Once we can't identify her through fingerprints, people think we'll just use DNA. Well, there's no database for the most part in DNA, so that's not going to work, and that's going to take a couple weeks. The case will be cold by then. Oh, wow.
Police also report that the bullets found in Jane Doe's body have failed to provide any leads. And Dr. G's initial physical profile hasn't panned out either.
The municipality where this occurred didn't have any missing persons report that matched.
No clues, no leads, no ID. The case is growing colder by the moment. If Jane Doe's body isn't identified soon, she will be laid to rest anonymously.
There's nowhere to send this body because she's unidentified. There's nobody to claim her. There's nobody to have a funeral on her. So unfortunately, she'll be buried as an unidentified.
It's a prospect that doesn't sit well with Dr. G.
I don't like putting people in the ground where no one is there to grieve for them. No one knows who they are. I don't even know if their next of kin would want that. Maybe that's against their religious objections. They'd rather have her disposed of in another way. I just always hate doing it.
And worse, police may never track down her killer.
Is it possible her killer is never brought to justice? Yes, there is a real possibility, particularly if you never figure out who she is.
The windows come down, the shoes go off, sleeves go up. The coast is there with open arms. Leave it all behind and settle in. Get them along.
Dogs are expensive. My number one pet parent hack, Spot Pet Insurance.
I spent so much money on vet bills.
Spot made it so painless and easy for me. They reimbursed me $2,700.
It is so easy and so simple. 2024 is the year of Spot Pet Insurance.
I'm obsessed with Spot.
Spot is so slay.
I'm here to tell you, consider getting pet insurance.
They're called Shinesty hammock underwear. Soft, sweat-wicking, breathable underwear with a supportive pouch built in. You'd think that underwear couldn't be reinvented. Then I found Shinesty hammock underwear, and I've not been able to wear another brand since. Shinesty hammock underwear will end your adjustments once and for all. You don't realize you need new underwear until you try these.
I'm on my feet all day. I'm up, I'm down. It's nice to have underwear that move with me and feel like they are there.
Love your first pair or they're free. Upgrade to hammock underwear at Shinesty.com.
You're probably wondering who we are. I'm Patrick, and that's Chase, and this is our next giveaway.
We're giving away this 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath in the heart of the Ozark National Forest. You can win this cabin or $1 million cash.
Go to onecountry.com today. Sign up.
Today, sign up.
Or sign up
Sign up today or tomorrow. No, you want to sign up right now.
When you use Ibotta, there's a 100% chance of cash back.
Hello?
Add offers, shop, and watch the money pour in.
There's money falling from the sky.
Ibotta, make it rain every time you shop.
Meet Omnilux Contour, an LED light therapy mask clinically proven to reduce fine lines and wrinkles. Find out how you can improve your skin at OmniluxLED.com.
Did you know that old-fashioned laundry detergent can contain up to 80% water? We at EarthBreeze created our dissolvable laundry detergent because we already have water. We even have a money-back guarantee. It's time to switch to EarthBreeze at earthbreeze.com.
Coming up next on True Crime Network.
Dr. G has just finished autopsying the unidentified victim of a grisly homicide. But none of her findings have led to a positive identification.
It's very difficult to solve the case if you don't know who it is.
But Dr. G's not ready to give up yet.
Somewhere in this town, somebody is missing this woman. Now, my police agency that has this case doesn't have any missing persons reports, but somewhere, I have a feeling somebody is looking for her.
Fortunately, she and her investigators have one last tool at their disposal.
I am going to have to put the word out to the media. When it goes on the evening news, we will get calls from people who are looking for their missing loved ones or friends.
But the first wave of news reports hit the airways, and still the phone lines in the morgue remain eerily quiet. After 48 hours, Dr. G knows the chances of identifying Jane Doe and catching her killer are slim.
You know, most of all of our cases that come in unidentified, we will identify them very quickly, and your chance of identifying them really goes down the colder it gets.
Yes, this is Jessica with him.
Then, 6 full days after the autopsy, they finally get a hit.
One of my investigators gets a phone call, and their mother is missing. I haven't seen my mother in 6 or 7 days. She is a black woman. She's about 5'6", in her late 50s.
But Dr. G had presumed that the woman on her table was at least 10 years younger.
We lost a little bit of hope.
But then, the caller says something that instantly changes the game.
They got further information, and although the age didn't match, all the other details matched really well. She's got dentures. In fact, one of the teeth on her dentures was covered with gold metal.
So we're sitting here going, okay, more and more of this clicking. This could be her.
We immediately called law enforcement that we have a good lead and that we were having her come in that afternoon. It must be a terrible, terrible thing to have to come down to the morgue to try to identify your mother. I can't imagine. I don't know if they really, I'm assuming they hope it's not her.
Hi, my name is Jessica.
In a conference room at the morgue, one of Dr. G's investigators sits down with a distraught family member and pictures of the decedent.
The first thing we do is we showed her a picture of the left side of her face, which wasn't as disfigured as the right, and they couldn't say for sure.
So we had to work something else out. At some point in time, the daughter said she could recognize her if she just saw her feet.
It was extremely odd. But we went down, we pulled her out, and we took a picture of her feet. As soon as she saw that picture of the feet, she said, "That's my mom." She was able to identify the body.
To confirm the identity, the daughter gives Dr. G her mother's medical records to review, including a chest x-ray that Dr. G compares to one taken of the dead body. They're a perfect match.
At this point, I was able to put my signature on the fact that this was this woman's mother.
Jane Doe finally has a name. She's Jeanette Dawson, a divorced 59-year-old mother of 2 who earns a living bartending at a local tavern. The positive ID is devastating news for Jeanette's family. But at least now there's a chance the police will be able to get a lead on a possible suspect.
Once we knew who she was, they know where to start looking, where she's last seen, where she worked. And sure enough, when they go to the bar where she's a bartender, people remember that she had given somebody a ride.
Police track down the last man seen with Jeanette, a convicted criminal named Danny Barton. And when presented with the evidence Dr. G uncovered at autopsy, along with the findings from the investigation, Barton quickly cracks under pressure.
He gave details and a scenario that perfectly matched what I found at autopsy. I have no doubt that he's telling the truth.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and 59-year-old Jeanette Dawson is finishing up her shift at a downtown tavern in Orlando.
This fellow was there. It struck up a conversation with her. When she got off work, she gave him a ride home.
But the friendly encounter soon takes a sinister turn.
He had ulterior motives for the ride home. He pulled a gun out.
shut up and just do as I tell you.
Wants the title of her car.
Barton forces Jeanette off the road. She complies with his demands and hands over the keys and title. But for Barton, it's not enough. Afraid she'll go to the police, he decides then and there to end her life. He exits the car, comes around to the driver's side, and shoots her several times.
The direction of those bullet wounds matched the fact that she was sitting in the car when he shot her.
But Barton has a problem.
She's still alive. And he was out of bullets. He finds the area, drags her from the car, and then he bludgeons her to death multiple times.
From the trauma to her skull, Dr. G concluded that Jeanette was struck with a blunt object. And not surprisingly, this coincides precisely with investigators' findings. Barton beat her with a large wooden log.
Till in his words, her head gets soft, and that's what we found. And then he leaves her there, takes the car, and drives the car until it doesn't drive anymore.
Barton is sentenced to 16 years in prison. And while it won't heal her wounds, Jeanette's daughter is relieved to know that her mother's killer is locked away.
You know, it always feels good to know that you add a little piece of the puzzle to help a criminal be held accountable for his crime. There's no rhyme or reason to this world sometimes. I don't understand the senseless killing. What was the purpose of it? What did it mean? Sometimes it's hard to put things in perspective.
Every day, families are depending on Dr. G to solve the mysteries behind their loved ones' sudden deaths. But some mysteries are more baffling than others. And when 41-year-old Cisco Rivera is found dead at the bottom of a lake, his family is left groping for answers.
We have a guy that's just out taking his boat out, and the next thing we know, he's in the water. What happened?
Hey, folks. Matt McCoy here to talk about the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford and why people love it so much. This is a good movie. Looks like it got a 94% thumbs up. Now that's pretty high. Even that's less than the 96% of customers 50 and over who recommend the Hartford. In fact, 4 out of 5 AARP members who switched to the Hartford from companies like Allstate, State Farm, and Geico got a lower rate. And many of them saved hundreds on their auto insurance. Not an AARP member? Hey, not to worry. The Hartford can help you join in minutes.
To start saving on your insurance today, get your free quote by calling the Hartford at 1-800-684-6093 or visit trusthartford.com.
I hear this place is great. 90% of diners recommend it. That doesn't beat the 96% of customers who recommend the Hartford. You just can't beat benefits like disappearing deductible. Plus, they offer new car replacement.
New car replacement?
Yep, if your new car is totaled, the Hartford will pay the full replacement cost.
The camera on this phone is amazing.
It's only a 93% satisfaction rating, though. Still less than the Hartford. You know what else? You could save even more if you bundle home and auto. For the savings, benefits, and best-in-class claims experience you deserve, make the switch today.
Join the millions of drivers 50 and over who switch to the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford and get the savings you want and the award-winning claims experience you deserve. To get your free no-obligation quote and see how much you could save, call the Hartford at 1-800-684-6093 or visit trusthartford.com. The Bucks got your back.
A better banking app is right at your fingertips. Download Dave, and you could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less, right through your phone. There's no interest, no credit checks, and no late fees. Because getting help shouldn't set you back. Switch to the banking app made for you, and you could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com today.
Sometimes life has a way of surprising you. Thanks to fee-free overdrafts. Early payday. At Easy Credit Building, we're making everyday life easier. That's why Chime is the #1 most loved banking app.
My doctor told me I needed to start prioritizing my liver health.
Dose for Your Liver is a clinically backed supplement that supports healthy liver function.
My stomach feels a lot better.
He has more energy. He sees his grandkids more.
Start your liver health journey today at dosedaily.co.
A Talkspace therapist will be in your corner for whatever comes up and be a place for you to vent day or night when you need to. Talkspace is covered by most insurance plans and may be no cost to you. Go to Talkspace.com to get started.
I hate going to the car dealership.
Literally.
So I'm going to check out Drive Time.
Drive Time flipped the script on car buying.
I got approved right away. That's me.
I could actually see what my payments are going to be. It's such an easy website to navigate. I mean, look at all these different categories you can filter your cars to. Boom. And that's what I'm looking for.
And then we'll just schedule a visit. Nice and easy. Incredible.
If I'd known Drive Time would be this easy,
I definitely would have done this sooner. Drive Time. That was so easy.
Beaches, lakes, and plenty of sunshine. Fans of water sports flock to Florida shores all year round.
In Orange County alone, we have over 370 named lakes. We have a lot of water skiing, a lot of fishing. So my dream is to someday own a boat.
But as the chief medical examiner for these counties, Dr. G knows that boating can also be deadly.
We have quite a few drownings that come through our office.
And it appears as if her next decedent may be one of these unfortunate victims. A repairman named Cisco Rivera, who was found at the bottom of a lake near Orlando last night. It's 6:30 p.m. on Saturday, and the shores of East Lake Tahoe are packed. Not with boaters and their families, but with paramedics, police, and one of Dr. G's medical investigators, Carol Crosby.
I was at work and received a notification call from the police department indicating that they had found a gentleman who had perhaps fallen off his boat. There's numerous firefighters, rescues, there's different agencies there.
And Carol is at the center of the action, with the dead body of Cisco Rivera and his grieving cousin Manny, the last person to see him alive.
Our job is to find out everything we can about what occurred. So I spoke to him, trying to obtain some information. Saw him go out.
Manny tells Carol that earlier that same day, Cisco had invited him to come to the lake so he could see his new boat.
This boat's old. It's, from the late 60s, early 70s. So just a metal John boat. And he wanted to make sure that it was, safe to put in the water.
At about 11 a.m., they lower the boat into the lake. It doesn't appear to have any leaks or structural problems. So Manny waits on shore while Cisco takes it out for a quick spin.
And that's the last the cousin sees of him.
An hour later, Cisco has still not returned.
And he's waiting, and he's waiting. And the next thing he knows, another boater is coming in and says, there's a boat out there with nobody on it.
So the rescue boat went out. They did discover the boat.
Now the boat engine is still on, it's idling. But they can't find this fellow. He's nowhere to be found. So the dive team comes out and they search the water. And unfortunately, after about 6 hours, they do find him at the bottom of the lake, get about 12 feet of water. see.
Dr. G thumbs through Carol Crosby's detailed investigator's report. On first glance, she's surprised to discover that Cisco was a strong swimmer. But she doesn't believe the 41-year-old just went for an impromptu dip.
He was fully clothed and he had his cell phone in his pocket. So I doubt that he just went in the water because it was hot and he decided to go for a swim.
To add to the mystery, investigators found Cisco's life jacket in the boat, though Manny insists he was wearing it when he left.
Interesting enough, the life vest was in this boat, which he had on when he first took the boat out.
But despite the seemingly suspicious circumstances, Carol's thorough investigation quickly rules out foul play.
There was no sign of a struggle or that anything else occurred.
There's a lot of factors that can play a role in why somebody can't get out of the water. Foul play is probably low on the list of possibilities here.
Suicide is also low on that list. Dr. G knows that intentional drownings are unusual, and there is no evidence at the scene to suggest this is what happened.
This wasn't a suicide.
But one possibility immediately springs to mind.
60% of adults who drown, the vast majority of which are male, will have alcohol in their system and are intoxicated. Alcohol and water do not mix.
But a closer look at the investigator's report tells her that this case may not be so simple.
Let me go get a quick verbal. Hey, Carol, could you give me a quick verbal on our guy there?
According to his cousin, Cisco didn't consume any alcohol while they were together, and Investigator Crosby saw no evidence in the boat to suggest otherwise.
Okay, thanks.
I found no indication that the decedent had been drinking or doing any kind of drugs. There was no alcohol found, no beer cans found.
So then how did the seemingly healthy 41-year-old end up dead at the bottom of the lake?
Did he have some type of natural disease? Whether it's seizures, whether it's a heart attack, whether it's something wrong with diabetes, all of those things can occur in the water.
And Dr. G knows that there's only one way to find out.
That's why we do autopsies.